Hi fans, and welcome to this 2014 Week 1 edition of the Woodland Hills Football Network pregame show. A season ago, the Wolverines entered the year #1 in the WPIAL and in the state of Pennsylvania. They faltered early but got their legs underneath them and made it all the way to the WPIAL championship game before falling to Pittsburgh Central Catholic. The Wolverines again enter the season atop the WPIAL rankings. We're going to sit down with Woodland Hills head coach George Novak to talk about last season, to preview this year, and we'll also talk about this Friday night's game at Peters Township as the Wolverines kick off the Southeastern Conference season. We'll be back right after this with more of the pregame show here on the Woodland Hills Football Network. Hi again, fans, and welcome back to this Week 1 edition of the Woodland Hills Football Network pregame show. Adam Gusky here sitting down with Wolverines head coach George Novak. And Coach Novak, before we talk about this season or tonight's game against Peters Township, let's take a look back to 2013. You entered the season with a lot of expectations, faltered early, but got your stride underneath you and made it all the way to the WPIAL championship game before falling to Central Catholic.
Yeah, it was a great year for Wolverine football last year. We had some great guys, a great senior class, and some great underclassmen. We lost some tough ball games early to Upper St. Clair and McKeesport, two very good teams, went far into the playoffs, and we came back strong and, won 10 games in a row, played some pretty good teams, and got a chance to get back and play Upper St. Clair again and beat them in the semifinals for the second year in a row. So, all in all, it was a good year. And, we lost to a very, very good football team at Central Catholic at Heinz Field.
Coach, you touched on the senior class. Talk about a couple of those seniors that have moved on to college careers. First of all, Trayvon Mathis going to Toledo. Chris David, he's headed to IUP.
Yeah, we got a report about Trayvon that he's doing very well. He's competing in the secondary up at Toledo for playing time. So as a freshman, that's very good. And Chris is off to IUP. And he's excited to be there, and it was a good senior class. We had a couple of them went to junior colleges. Dante Broadus and James Eggleston went to Lackawanna College. So they're all excited. Donnie Cassidy went up to Allegheny College. We have a number of them went to smaller schools, but we're excited about them and their future.
Let's talk about the future of a couple of other Wolverines that have already made their verbal commitments to universities. First of all, Art Tompkins, he's headed to Toledo to join Trayvon Mathis. Yeah,
Toledo's been recruiting Art for a couple years, and he had a number of offers, but he felt comfortable with Toledo, and they knew him the best, and I think that's a good place for him. Toledo's done very well with players from the WPIL.
Next, we'll talk about Miles Sanders, and we'll talk about him all season long, but let's talk about his commitment to Penn State. First of all, he's only the second Wolverine I can remember committing to Penn State, and secondly, he's the first Wolverine I can remember going into his junior year that has already made a commitment to a Division I college.
Yeah, he just felt real comfortable there, and he wanted to get it off his mind, and the coaching staff recruited him very hard, and it's a great academic school. There's nothing you can say about the education you get at Penn State. And he chose that. And, I never push or direct a guy where to go to school, try to give him the pros and cons of all the schools. And, he was ready to make his decision.
Well, that's a very good thing. Let's talk about the off-season program. How did it go this year? Of course, Denny D'Amico, legendary for getting these guys ready to play in the fall.
Yeah, I think Denny's done another great job with the kids, and while the other coaches pitched in, but he's our leader. And, you know, I think in the weight room, we probably set some records this year for lifting and what they've done. They work very hard in the weight room. And, you know, we went down to the University of Pittsburgh this summer and won our 5th Big Man's Challenge down there. So kids were excited about that, and they did a nice job there. And they've been working hard in the summer, and, you know, the success of our team will be dictated by how well the linemen do. And, you know, we've got a nice crew of linemen, and they're working hard.
Before we get to that specifically, let's talk about the coaching staff some more, a couple of changes, including the departure of Gino Donofrio.
Yeah, we lost one of my good friends, Gino. He was a great coach with us for a number of years. He came up through the midgets and the junior high programs. And he's been with us on the high school for about 15 years coaching. And he's one of the guys that really worked hard in the weight room too with the kids. And, you know, we truly miss him. He was our defensive coordinator the last couple of years. And when Coach Morton got ill and wasn't able to coach, and Gino did a great job for us, and we really miss him and you know, everything that he brought for the program.
You touched on the offensive line, Coach. Let's talk about that unit. It seems like maybe the strongest unit on the football team.
Well, the offense and the defensive line both were solid, you know, very solid. You know, we got a number of guys that played defense coming back on the defensive line. The offensive line, we got 3 starters back, and we got 3 or 4 other guys vying for spots on the offensive line, and it's very competitive.
Now let's talk about that defensive line. I feel remiss that I even overlooked them because they are going to be a powerhouse. You've obviously got a lot of returning talent there with Solomon, Gibson, and Akira McLean, and then some newcomers on the other end.
Yeah, you know, those 3 all played. Kevin started for 3 years. Akira's led her for 3 years. He had 14 sacks last year. And Gibby's been a 4-year guy for us on offense and defense. He's, I think, one of the top players in the WPIL. And Wolford Clark played defense last year in the defensive tackle position. Fletcher was hurt last year, and McVeigh, and they're coming back strong. And we have a junior coming up, Tariq Thompson, who's had a real good camp. So we got, you know, we feel we're too deep on the defensive line, which is a real plus. But of course, 3 of them are starters on the offensive line too, Gibby, Amon, and Wolford. So, you know, those 3 got double duty, but, you know, we'll get a rotation in where they could all play. But, you know, they have all done a great job. And we got Butch Cassidy, Jake, who's been working with at center with Stevie Rickard. Those 2 are battling it out. And we got Scarborough, he's a new student coming in. He's a big tackle. It's competing with Eric Mitchell for the tackle position. We got 2 tight ends. They're battling. Will Fletcher and Stevie Pugh is a new student at Woodland Hills. They're both big kids, 6'3", 6'4". So we've got some height and some size at tight end and defensive end and the offensive and defensive line.
Linebacker's always been a position of strength over the past several years. Let's talk about that linebacker spot. Obviously, you have Jordan Lee coming back. Let's talk about some of the other guys.
Yeah, Jordan is definitely our leader, one of our leaders on defense. He's been, you know, he started last year for us, played a lot, and his brother was a player for us, went to Purdue, and his dad started for us the first year. So it's kind of a family thing that they've all been linebackers, but he's done a nice job at camp. We have Laquan Bowden, who we moved into linebacker spot, and he's doing a nice job for us in the middle. He's one of our strongest players. Along with them, we have Diamond Johnson, Damone Johnson, Joel Shaw, who is a running back, is playing linebacker, and Hassan Ganem, who's done a nice job for us. So we got a lot of competition amongst the linebackers, which is a positive thing.
A lot of familiar names there, guys that played in the special teams, and you know, that's obviously a good thing. Let's talk about the secondary now. Obviously, Nash and the return of Jihad Brown are 2 big additions to that secondary.
Yeah, having those 2 back, they're leaders on the defense, and they both got Division I potential. Art Tompkins is playing some of the secondary. Stephon Hawthorne and Trey Bryant are competing for corner spot. You know, we have Deron Cooper at the safety position. Jason Visco's a senior. He's competing at the safety. So, you know, we have a lot of older kids that with experience that are competing for the secondary positions too, and a lot of them play offense too. So we feel we're too deep in the secondary with guys.
Let's move to the offensive side of the football now, and we'll talk about that running back core. You mentioned Shaw. We've talked about Miles Sanders and Art Tompkins, figures to work into the mix at both receiver and running out of the backfield. That is a dangerous three-headed monster.
Yeah, and Sean Gannon's in there too. He's a fullback, and you know, we got those kids. They've worked very hard. Two of them are seniors, two of them are juniors, and just working different ways to utilize their skills on offense. It's running back, we feel, is a strong position for us.
Last time we sat down, you said the biggest concern heading into 2014 was going to be quarterback and wide receiver. Have those been ironed out?
Well, you know, quarterback, Jeremiah Jones got a lot of snaps last year, but he had a lot of injuries that kept him out of games and then kept him out of the playoffs. He wasn't available for the playoffs. So, you know, he's one of the guys that's doing real well at camp. He was scrimmage. He had a good first scrimmage. He wasn't available for the second scrimmage, but you know, we got really 4 juniors been rotating at quarterback. Jeremiah, we have Miles Sanders, who we're using at quarterback also, and we have 2 other juniors. Deron Cooper has done a nice job for us, and Tay, Moran, Miles. They're both 6'1", 6'2". You know, they have good arms, and they're decent quarterbacks too.
Coach, talk about the wide receivers.
Yeah, you know, we use Art out there. He's a slot back, flanker back. We also have Isaiah Brooks, who's got great speed, and did a great job in the state meet on the long jump and triple jump. We have Stephon Hawthorne, who's transferred from the city. He went to the city prep school. He came out and he's done a fantastic job. He's a great receiver for us. And we have the junior Dunn, Jamon Dunn. He played a lot last year. He's doing a nice job for us. And Havon Price, who's come out, and you know, he's another receiver for us. And Chris Wilson is another receiver that's a junior that has great hands, and he's going to play some this year for us.
Let's talk about this Friday night's game now, Coach. You've got the Peters Township Indians. Now, I'm sure you're happy that you don't have Upper St. Clair and McKeesport week 1, but you can't overlook the Indians. They've got a good quarterback from what I understand.
Yeah, you know, we take them one at a time, and we look at the team. You know, Peters, they've had a great run the last 3 years. They've been in the playoffs. They've beaten some good teams to get there. They got some big kids as usual. Quarterback's their most dangerous guy. Last year he ran for over 700 yards and 10 touchdowns, along with being a great passer, so he's definitely a Division I player. They got a young running back with some great speed. They got some big offensive linemen. Their biggest threat's a quarterback, but he has 3 receivers. 2 of them are 6'4", 1 6'3". He likes to throw the ball to them, and you know, we're definitely undersized watching them in the secondary, so we had to work on that a lot this week. But they're a formidable opponent, especially for the first game where so many things could happen.
Big picture-wise, Coach, in 2012 you went in, lots of potential, not a lot of expectations. In 2013, tons of expectations, you faltered early. This year, those expectations are high again, but you've got a lot of experience. Obviously, that experience with expectations has to help.
Oh yeah, experience is always one of the most important things, especially early in the season. But when it comes down to it, you know, once you get into the playoffs, and you get to those semifinals, there's 4 teams there. Any one of those 4 can win it. And we've been fortunate enough to get to that final for the last 5 years. But we played some good teams in the final. But, you know, again, this year, you never know what's going to happen when you get there. Because the teams in Quad A, you know, Central Catholic, they return the same amount of starters as we do. They're going to be a strong opponent. We had a great scrimmage with McKeesport. They're going to be a very solid team. Penn Trafford has a lot of their guys back, and they had a great year last year, and this is supposed to be that year. Seneca Valley gave us all we wanted in that game last year in the quarterfinals, and you know, they got most of their guys back with a great quarterback. Pine Richland, great quarterback, great running back. They gave us a game for a half down here. North Allegheny's always tough. For St. Clair's always going to be tough. I expect Baldwin to be very tough in our conference, and Penn Hills has a majority of their guys back, and that was a battle when we played them last year. So there's a lot of good teams in Quad A. I think, experience-wise, 4 or 5 of them has about the same amount of guys we do coming back. So, we're going to have our hands full, but like I say, we're going to take them one at a time and see how we do.
Well, Coach, that road of attrition starts this upcoming Friday at Peters Township. Good luck against the Indians, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Adam.
We'll be right back with more of the pregame show right after this here on the Woodland Hills Football Network. Hey there, Wolverine fans. I'm Adam Gusky, and I've decided to accept the Ice Bucket Challenge from my friend and former co-worker at Robert Morris University Athletics, Brian Stevens. Now, I'm going to challenge you, not necessarily to take the Ice Bucket Challenge, but more importantly, log on to alsa.org and make a donation so we can help fight and cure this crippling disease. And now it's time for me to take that Ice Bucket Challenge. Oh, my goodness, that is cold. Again, fans, I challenge you, not necessarily for the Ice Bucket Challenge, but to make a donation as I did to the ALS Association. If I ever get over this hypothermia, I hope to talk to you again on Friday from Peters Township. For everybody at the Woodland Hills Football Network, I'm Adam Gusky. Again, fans, we thank you for joining us for this Week 1 edition of the Woodland Hills Football Network pregame show. As always, you can tune into this Friday night's game live on our flagship radio station, AM 1550 WZUM, on the web at woodlandhillsfootballnetwork.com. The stream is also available at msasports.net. You can tune into our live cable radio coverage on Monroeville Comcast Cable Channel 13, Penn Hills Comcast Cable Channel 98, and Verizon Fios Channel 37. And don't forget, fans, you can watch our television replays on all of our TV affiliates and our YouTube channel. For everybody at the Woodland Hills Football Network, I'm Adam Gusky, and we'll talk to you again next week as the Wolverines take on Bethel Park.